of all these social networks and all the social tools that are out there, I feel like Twitter applies to the most job functions. Especially in a B2B setting, it's hard to find good Facebook case studies. It's hard to find good YouTube case studies. With Twitter, there are a ton of uses, and hopefully I can kind of speed right through them. Hold on, let me grab my notes. So, really quickly, I guess just for my edification, who here uses Twitter? Maybe a third of you, maybe half of you. And do you use it on a, now you're going to have to use, you know, nods and shakes, but do you use it for a personal level or for business? That's not a yes or no question. Business, okay. Well, I think that there, like I said, I think there are a ton of uses here, and hopefully we can talk about all of them. Really quickly, at a glance, because Twitter still does play second fiddle to Facebook in a lot of different ways, but it is old. I mean, it's 6 years old now. You think about these social media things as brand new. I mean, this is 6 years old. This is pretty mature at this point. It is what it is. It's the second biggest social network and the second biggest search engine. Although I've heard YouTube be called a search engine also. I guess it's sort of how you define it. But there are 465 million users, which is a little more than half of what's on Facebook. 175 million tweets daily, with a projected revenue this year of 259 million. They make that through ads and other sorts of things. The bottom line is it's big and it's very useful for business, and we will jump into why. So when putting these presentations together, it's like, how can I simplify this? And I came up with some categories, some different uses for Twitter. These are 8 things that I see businesses use all the time. It's 8 things that, you know, we help clients implement Twitter strategies for. And really, it's the big one is it's a social network, so networking, research, customer service, driving traffic to and from your website, to your social media platforms, stuff like that. It's a good tool to drive traffic to wherever you want to send it. Marketing and branding, I mean, that's what a lot of social media is. It's just marketing and branding, running promotions, contests, that kind of thing. Personal branding, you see that because it's, there are a lot of people out there, on the individual basis, you can do some personal branding. Communications tools, so, you know, instead of issuing releases or fact sheets or whatever, it's just, that's the way the company gets the information out there. And the really sneaky way to use Twitter is for public relations, and I'll get into that in a minute. So, it's broken out by functions. So this first one is networking. I would imagine a lot of people in this room that use Twitter use it for networking. What's great about Twitter is that you can go and create these lists. And if you're using, actually now you can do it on the web view too, but you can create different lists. Like let's say I wanted to reach, you know, commercial real estate brokers. You can do all sorts of searches, and there are a lot of tools available for you to be able to compile a list of users. And then you can go and look at that list and see what they're all talking about. You can start connecting with some of them. You can start building up your name with this specific set of people. And that's very different than something like Facebook, where you have to get people to come to you as a business page. With Twitter, you can go to them. There are no rules or anything like that. So you go and you should network. You know, follow people you know and respect, and you know, engage with them through retweeting and commenting on stuff, replying to them, and participating in chats that they're hosting, that kind of stuff. And like anything else, you don't want to be the annoying guy at the party. You know, be smart, respectful, concise. Try to build this relationship with somebody. So let's see if I can come up with an example here. I know we're having a tweet up here later at 4 o'clock, and basically for people who use Twitter, a lot of times you only know that person by their Twitter handle or something. And I have so many people in my network that I only know them by their Twitter handle. And so anyway, at the end of the day, you need to meet them in person too if you want to start doing business with them. But I found it to be a very valuable networking tool just for me personally, and for our company Cone. You know, we push out a ton of content, and we have fans and stuff that reply, and it's just a good way to expand your network, especially since there's so many people on there. This function right here is probably the main reason why businesses should be using Twitter. It is a real-time search engine, and you can search for pretty much anything. Even the way it's set up, the use of hashtags. For those of you who don't use Twitter, the hashtag for anything that has to do with recon, anything that anybody's putting out there into the Twitter sphere that has to do with recon, you're supposed to use the hashtag recon. I think recon 12 or recon 2012. But then you just search for that little tag. It's earmarked now. That piece of information is earmarked, and so it's all filtering into a list called recon 2012. Anyway, it's sort of conceptually why Twitter is great is that you can go and search for anything. So let's say you are like for Cone marketing, we do searches for Cone all the time because we want to see what people are talking about out there, and if we aren't at that table, they can be talking about anything. Even if they're saying something bad, at least now we can go and address that stuff and have those conversations with them. Also, let's say you don't even have a Twitter account, but you can use Twitter as a research tool. You don't have to be logged in or anything like that. If you are interested in knowing how Twitter feels about a certain subject, plug that sucker in an advanced search, actually you can filter by positive, negative, or neutral comments. It just gives you a really good feel of the pulse of the online community on any given topic, and you don't even have to have a Twitter account to do that. It's a really neat search engine to get sentiment on certain things. I've seen companies do it where they ask, what new flavor of syrup should we create? You can get instant feedback, and also what's really cool too, and I'll get into this, but there's just no limitations like there is with Facebook or with other social networks. With Twitter, as long as you keep it short enough, you can pretty much do whatever you want to do. Like I said, it should be a no-brainer for everybody in this room, and afterwards I can come show you how to do a Twitter search, and you'll be amazed. I mean, you can really find out what people online, how they feel about something right away. And maybe I should search this presentation afterwards to see if you guys are talking trash. Okay, so another good function here is customer service. Quick anecdote. Earlier this year, I purchased a flight on Frontier.com or FrontierAirlines.com, and after I jumped through all their hoops, put in all my credit card information and everything like that, and they said at the very end I needed to call customer service to confirm, which just seemed pretty stupid because I just, I would have called to begin with had I known that. So I called, and it was an hour wait. So I was pissed, and so I found the customer service handle for Frontier, and I sent them a message that says, hey, I'm sitting on hold right now. For some reason, I had to call customer service to confirm my flight. They replied to me right away while I was on hold, and we solved the whole thing through Twitter in a matter of seconds. It's because they are doing their research, and they know what people are talking about their brand, and they came to me to fix it instead of the other way around. Granted, that's a consumer-facing business, but in the B2B setting, I think there's also ways to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're let's say a landlord and somebody's talking badly about your property, you can go and solve that in real time, and it doesn't even have to be public. You can take them to a direct message feed where it's all private, and you can handle it respectfully and quietly and quickly, and you really just want to put out fires as quickly as you can in customer service. Let's see, what did I not talk on here? Also, there's something too about the fact that Frontier came to me. It was surprising in a weird way. It made me look at them a little differently. That, for the time being, that's still a pleasant surprise. Probably like 10 years from now, that'll be common practice, and us consumers will start to expect people to do that. But for now, it's a very pleasant surprise, and it made me think of them a little differently, even though that the whole incident was just so dumb. Anyway, okay, so the next thing has to do with traffic. I'm sorry for the lame clip art. I am not a designer, but I saw web traffic and I thought spiderweb. So technology, so Twitter is really just like a short publication. It's 140 characters, right? And you're pushing it out all the time. Well, a lot of those messages will drive people somewhere, and why not send them to your website, or send them to your blog, or send them to your Facebook page, or your LinkedIn page. Because everything happens so quickly, you can usually get them to go to it with a link, or even if you explain to them what the link is, all these tools are about driving traffic to the website and converting leads, getting people in the door, and then it's up to you to kind of convert that lead. But Twitter's a very good tool online to do that, and it's so fast and cheap. Also, if you guys are doing this in your company, you should make it easy to follow your company on Twitter. You can do that by adding a little button on your website or talking about it on your website, making sure people know that you're out there on Twitter. And also, what's really nice about Twitter too, unlike some of the, like Facebook right now, you can auto-post through third-party apps. But Facebook, they have this thing called edge rank, where if you pre-populate your post, if you've got some scheduled posts and you're kind of pushing it out through a third party, Facebook will kill that. It will make it so it never shows up in news feeds because they think it's just marketing gobbledygook. Well, on Twitter, like I said, they don't really watch over that. You can pre-post stuff and it gets the same amount of attention that any other post would get. So it's really helpful, right? If you want to plan out content 2 months in advance, you sit down, you write all your little 140 character posts, and then you can upload them and it will post automatically, and it gets the same level of visibility as anything else. I think that's really cool, and it makes me like Twitter a lot more than Facebook in that way. So marketing branding, this is probably where a lot of companies, even on the B2B side, use Twitter. Pushing out their own internal messaging, like, we have 30 years experience in this, that's one character, or I'm sorry, that's one message. So this is kind of how a lot of people approach Twitter when it comes to business, is they just kind of push out their own marketing. It's like an extension of their brand. Another thing that's really neat about Twitter as opposed to something like Facebook is Facebook has all of these rules. You are not allowed to have a promotion in your cover image. You are not allowed to run any sort of contest that uses the native Facebook functionality like a like button. They will come and take that stuff down. With Twitter, there are no rules. It's just keep it under 140 characters and we'll let you do what you want to do. So especially from like a marketing to consumer standpoint, that's great, right? Like we can run all sorts of contests and promotions and nobody's going to slap us on the wrist for doing it. Also, I didn't include this in here, but I guess I included it earlier, but a lot of personal branding going on here. Everybody at Cone has a personal Twitter account, and everybody there is, if anybody ever followed me, you would know that I love the Denver Broncos. That's just like part of who I am as a person, and I'm doing a lot of personal branding out there, and I've done a lot of networking with other Broncos fans and that kind of thing. Anyway, you can do it as, in this example, the Whole Foods market, but then also tons of Whole Foods employees on the corporate side have accounts too, where they talk about, eating healthy and being green, et cetera, et cetera. Communications. So speaking of the Denver Broncos, something that they do that is really cool is they have gotten rid of press releases altogether. Whenever they want to make an announcement, they just let John Elway send out a tweet. And so it's kind of neat that the company's communication efforts now are all happening through Twitter, and they're all happening in 140 characters, the way that we think now. And so, whenever John Elway posts something, it's the official Denver Broncos communication. It's a pretty neat way to think about things, especially any of you guys who handle your company's public relations. The press release is so outdated now. Nobody really, we all still use it, but journalists hate it. They would much rather you just feed them information in a quick way and not waste their time. And Twitter lets you do that. Also, in terms of communication, industries have these chats all the time. It's a way to communicate very, very quickly with a whole group of people. Twitter has its own weird setup, but it lets you do it. There's a sense of community on there that's a little similar to Facebook, and I think that's pretty neat. And while we're talking about public relations, let me just quickly tell you, this is a way to use Twitter that probably you guys aren't doing right now, but you probably should. So like I said, journalists are sort of temperamental. They have PR people like me harassing them all the time with calling and emailing, and they feel generally like we're wasting their time. And so it's really hard to get them to write about your company. Well, with Twitter, everything is so short that it's not a waste of time for them. And so like what we do with our clients is we will go and let's say we have a client of ours makes chocolate syrups that you find in coffee drinks. So we went and found all the reporters that would write about something like that. And because they're publishers in practice, a lot of them are on Twitter anyway. So then you create this list of all the reporters that would possibly talk about your client, and then it's just like networking and engaging with them like you would a potential lead. You talk to them on Twitter, you talk about your client to them on Twitter, and eventually they start to listen, because it's not just like you're cramming up their inbox or their voicemail box. You can actually have those conversations with them, and all of, I'm in public relations, and all of the best placements I've ever gotten from my clients have come from me talking to a reporter on Twitter. It is like the new tool for PR, and it's what a lot of smart companies are doing on Twitter, and it's not something you would normally think about, but it's something that, there's a business function there. So there's a couple tips on all, I think I gave you 8 different ways to use Twitter, but there are some tips that I think help. First, it's not even on here, but you ought to play around with it first. All these tools are so new, and sometimes you learn things that you never even thought that you could do with the tool until you start figuring it out and experimenting with it. But one of the things I will tell you is you should, if you're going to go down this path of using Twitter, even on a personal basis, you should get a third-party app like Hootsuite or TweetDeck. What these things do, for those of you who aren't familiar, is the web version of Twitter. It's pretty complicated. In fact, I think that's why at first it had a kind of a low adoption rate, is it took a second for people to understand how to use it. But Hootsuite and TweetDeck are applications you can download like any other computer application, and it simplifies it and makes it very pretty. You can create these Twitter lists that are easy to understand. You can do searches. It just is, and what's great about Twitter, again, is they let developers create these crazy things, because they don't really know. All they know is they have a great service. They're going to let the developers come up with great ways to harness that service. So I like Hootsuite and TweetDeck. If you guys are going to try this, you ought to try downloading one of those. I think that, like I said, I think what's so great about Twitter is it's a ton of stuff out there. I mean, it is just like an ocean of information, but it's not overwhelming, because you can use Twitter lists to sort of siphon it into exactly what you want to see. I heard somebody once say that Twitter is like this raging river of information, and what's great is that you don't have to dive in and drown. You can just reach down and grab a cup and fill it up. I think it's a great way to think about Twitter. Like anything else, you want to be personal, relevant, interesting, trying to provide value to your audience. You don't want to just be pushing marketing stuff all day. And then it's so funny, all these social media tools, we do a really great job of building community, and we get people really engaged, and then we never cultivate the relationship and actually cash in. I mean, if we want to be able to use this as a marketing tool, we ought to make sure that we're cultivating those relationships that we're building. So again, there's some other tips on here, and we can talk more about it, but basically, in summary, I think Twitter kind of got a bad rap. I think early on people thought it was a place for you to talk about what you had for lunch, and it has evolved far beyond that, even though we still talk about it like that in pop culture. Any new idea, any new branding campaign, anything that we're about to experiment with the client, you can find out in real time if you think it's going to work. I mean, there's real data there for you to have, and anyway, that's just me defending Twitter. But I guess that's all I have for now. I can absolutely take questions. I just skimmed over everything, and if you do have questions, because we are recording this and the mic's all hooked up, I'm going to have to give you the mic so it shows up. Okay. Oh, okay. Do you want to take the mic to this one?
It says hashtags make things very searchable. So if I wanted to search, for instance, my real estate company, the name of it, I would put a hashtag, my real estate company, and then end it with a hashtag? What are you talking about?
No, okay, so you can search any way you want to search. You can just put in your company's name and it'll search for it. But people use hashtags in a certain way. Like for commercial real estate, a lot of times when you're pushing out content that has to do with commercial real estate, people will use the hashtag CRE. And so if for some reason you wanted to see what all the commercial real estate content that is being out there right that second, you can search for the hashtag CRE. It keeps it short. It gives it sort of like a way to be indexed, And like I said, how you would do that is just a hashtag on the front end, whatever the thing is, and you don't need to do a hashtag at the end. So, for example, this one, it's Recon 12. So, all the conversations that are happening right now on Twitter that have to do with Recon should be using that hashtag. And it's like, maybe right after this, we'll pull up that feed. In fact, if you look at these screens behind us, the ones that are facing outward, one of those is an ongoing feed right now of what people are saying about Recon 12. It's pretty interesting. People are talking about a deal they just made, or people are meeting via Twitter and then meeting up in person here. It's pretty neat, the fact that you can just search all of this stuff, because Facebook doesn't really work like that. LinkedIn doesn't really work like that. Really, the only thing that works like that is Google, and this is it provides a different kind of sentiment than Google would.
I'm new to this stuff that I got Twitter name and everything, but I thought it only worked one way. Like I sent something out and nobody could respond to me.
No, I mean, it's social, right? This is not publishing a newspaper. This is engaging with people in real time.
So if I send something out, somebody can then reply back to that?
Yeah. And if you can go and find something that somebody said and reply to them too. It's a two-way street there. Anything else? Well, thank you guys. Oh.
Did you say this was mobile networks and almost exclusively versus over there?
For Twitter, you mean?
Yes.
No, I mean, there is a mobile application of Twitter. I have it on my phone. Many of you probably have it on your phone, but you can also update online. So it's really just like I guess I would say more of like a just complete web view, because you can get web on your phone too. Anything else? Yes?
So I'm trying to make this applicable to me.
Sure.
Okay, if I have a listing, say, and right now I have one that I call it onehardcorner.info. Okay, that's my YouTube channel for that. So then how would I advertise that to my local community?
Well, I think, first of all, let's just say, where are you from? Sorry, just so I can... Kansas, okay. So you would want to first try to maybe create a list of people in your area first. That would be who would maybe want to lease out that land, right, or whatever the property is. So there, you could do it that way, and then start following these people that are talking. You could look up commercial real estate. I mean, you basically got to go find the conversations first. I think that's a good way to know what your content should be. You obviously want to be pushing out content too, though, right? And so, like anything else, video, photos, all that stuff's going to do really well online. Let's see. You could, I think, like any other marketing tool, you got to put yourself in the shoes of who you're trying to reach, and what are they going to be doing on Twitter, and what are they going to be doing online, and then market your content around that. Let's see. Afterwards, why don't you and I brainstorm? I mean, I think I really, really believe in Twitter, and especially in this kind of scenario. People think because it's 140 characters you can't make any difference, but what's so great is this thing is so searchable. You can go and seek out people one-on-one. I was talking to somebody earlier who's running a political campaign, and it's like, this makes all the sense in the world. You can go and search those issues and search for them locally, and then be able to go in it'd be like having one-on-one conversation there, and be like going door to door, and you can do that 140 characters.